Here, what nationality was legendary rally racer Marcus Gronholm? He was Finnish. Sorry. SEGA Rally Championship is a game that is special for a number of reasons. While it is not the first video game adaptation of rallying, with the Drift Out series and World Rally games predating it, SEGA Rally is probably the most influential rally game ever created, influencing both future rally titles like the Colin McRae Rally series, but also the actual sport. There aren't many games out there that are so iconic that for a lot of people they actually define the look and feel of the sport in their minds, but SEGA Rally's tracks and cars are so synonymous with rallying that it's impossible to separate the two. SEGA Rally Championship released in 1994 for Sega's Model 2 arcade board and features a fully texture-mapped 3D environment to race in. Unlike the sport it's based on, SEGA Rally sees you racing across 3 stages where you must work your way up the ranks to get to first place in the final of the 3 races. It is impossible to get first place in the first stage, and as a result SEGA Rally is more about finding the best line through the stages to make the most progress in each. In regular rallying, a driver takes their car through the entire stage to set their time, and then the next driver does the same, and so on and so forth. You're not really racing against other drivers on the tracks themselves, but their times. That is not the case with SEGA Rally, as you are racing against other drivers and a decreasing amount of time like most arcade races. I can see why this decision was made because it keeps play sessions short and challenging, but also intense and exhilarating, and in the world of arcades you need the player to pump more money into the cabinet quite regularly for it to make a profit for the arcade operator. Regardless, SEGA Rally Championship doesn't feel unfair, it's just asking a lot of the player. You must delicately wrestle with accelerating and braking constantly as you weave around these tight, twisty stages while not colliding with other drivers or the walls, which costs you precious time and speed. Each corner is signposted by the co-driver and an icon at the top of the heads-up display that gives the player the necessary information to judge the corner they are approaching. Blue means the corner can be taken without braking. Some light braking will need to be applied for yellow corners, and red corners will require some pretty hard braking to make it through without hitting a wall. The game's biggest innovation is the simulation of racing on different surface types, with a convincing change to the handling being applied depending on whether you're driving on tarmac or dirt, and the stages mix things up frequently. From the outset you can select 2 cars, a Toyota Celica, which was a contemporary rally car from the time of the game's release, and a Lancia Delta Integrale, which saw more success in the late 80s. While this is a limited selection by today's standards, both cars offer something different, with the Celica being more drifty and the Delta being more grippy. While not featured in the arcade original, a third car is unlocked in the home port after winning all 3 stages, the legendary Lancia Stratos, which dominated the World Rally Championship during the mid-70s. This car is even more unruly, with a back end that constantly wants to throw the car into a spin, but with a top speed that's unrivaled when compared to the other cars. It's a truly difficult beast to master, but a satisfying one when you get to grips with it. The same can also be said about the courses. These tracks need to be raced on multiple times and painstakingly learned in order for you to see success, and that's where SEGA Rally's replayability comes from. It's not a long game, but what is here is extremely involved and rewarding to master. And what do you get for mastering the 3 stages? Well, another stage of course! Lakeside is the 4th and final course the game throws at you, and it's an extremely tough little thing, with narrow roads lined with walls for the entire stage. Without learning the course first, you will bump into walls constantly and lose loads of time as a result. Lakeside is basically the ultimate challenge in SEGA Rally, and not one to be taken lightly. Thankfully, all these stages are a joy to learn because they're still pretty amazing to look at even today, with loads of colour and roadside detail to help them stand out. This marriage of extremely tight car control and stunning vistas is the real appeal of rally games for me, and I find them strangely comparable to the Sonic the Hedgehog games. You see, in a rally game you are basically trying to master a very involved control scheme, carefully manoeuvring your way through these tight and twisty stages while blazing past loads of colourful detailed scenery. What do you do in the Sonic games? You race through colourful detailed stages using precise platforming and speed, and it feels amazing when it all comes together, just like the best rally games. The two franchises have always occupied a similar space in my head because of this, despite being from two entirely different genres. But how do you play Sega Rally in this day and age? Sure, emulation is always there, but the game hasn't been made available legally since its inclusion as a bonus disc with Sega Rally 2006, a Japan-exclusive PS2 game. I think one of the best alternatives is this PC version from 1997, which is still extremely easy to get very cheap. It can be patched to work better on modern operating systems with this unofficial Direct3D patch, which I've linked in the description to this video. This patch also comes with a piece of frame limiter software called CPU Grab, which needs to be activated and set to 30 FPS, otherwise the frame pacing is all over the place and the game will constantly speed up and slow down. Once this is done, you can play around with a great port of Sega Rally that is based on the Saturn version from 1995, and you also get to own a nice little box copy of the game to put on your shelf if you care about such things. It's a damn sight cheaper than buying a Saturn copy and a working Saturn, which are becoming more and more difficult to source as the years go by. Either way, SEGA Rally Championship is a legendary Sega arcade racer that helped define rally games and the sport itself. It's an absolute must-play for fans of racing games. What it lacks in content, it more than makes up for in nuance. It is a tough little game that rewards repeat plays and mastery of its handling model, which is still one of the best in racing game history.